if we don't want to. No. That's all. That's all about it.
So Will requested we start with this this song tonight. It's another BS night here. Tom, Will, usual.
Ni hao, Tom. Ni hao.
Yeah, Will, what is this? What are we listening to here?
We're listening to essentially a remix of a song by a very gentle Chinese man who skyrocketed to fame, I guess, for his beautiful singing chops. So,
what's he saying? Do you understand the words?
It's well, my Chinese is not as good as it should be, for being in the middle of
I notice you're outside
right now.
Where is that in China?
Yeah.
Where are you broadcasting from tonight?
Yeah, so I finally made a pilgrimage. As you know, Tom, I'm very
to your homeland. I know.
Yeah. Well, no, not well. I mean,
your adopted homeland. Yeah.
I mean, I've not yet had the pleasure of doing the 23andMe, so I could be 78% Han Chinese.
Well, I'll tell you this much, Will.
I could be Hakka.
Even after you've had the pleasure of doing 23andMe, you don't know what it's going to be from year to year. So you may not immediately. It may not be your homeland this year, but next year, who knows?
It's sort of a nomadic lifestyle it wants you to have. This year you're mostly Chinese. Next year you're mostly Vietnamese. The year after that you're Scandinavian.
I'm getting increasingly my Mediterranean and Northern African seems to go up every year. How my DNA is shifting, I don't know, but I'm not the scientist here. That's for 23andMe.
Your telomeres are responding to your Mediterranean dieting. I would assume,
it's the hummus.
That's probably what's happening. Yeah, that'll do a Sabra hummus. That'll do it every single time. A little olive oil, a little lemon on that. You practically turn into a Greek. It's it's great.
Greek is like skyrocketing. It went from 2% Greek, I think, in the first one, now up to maybe 15% Greek.
Oh wow, you're practically the patriarch of Constantinople with
my hair.
15%. Wow.
My hair is getting increasingly curly. My chest is getting really hairy.
We should call you Thomasopoulos now. You know what I mean?
You ever see that movie? You ever see that movie?
My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Oh wait, sorry. What?
No, you see that movie Altered States with William Hurt, and he's like a scientist, and he's developed this. Joe Rogan would love it, right? It's like a separate sensory deprivation tank, and he wants to get in touch with primordial man. And in doing so, he starts to become a primordial man. So he starts looking more ape-like and growing hair in all these strange places. That's kind of what's happening with me, just as I become more Greek.
You're sort of turning into more of a chimp as you become more Greek. Is that what you're saying, Tom? You're saying that all Greeks are simian-like?
I can make this joke, Will, because I'm very Greek now.
That's true. It's allowed. You know what I mean? And
it's true.
And that's why I'm broadcasting from Penglai Mountain here in the Wuyi region of China.
Province? Do they call them provinces, or is that Japanese or Korean?
Oh no, I think they have provinces.
Okay.
I think they call them parishes. I'm down here in Wuyi Parish. I was kidding. Sort of that's one of the verge of Louisiana and Chinese culture.
The Chinese really left a big imprint on Louisiana culture, I know. There's a lot of
they were building those railroads down in New Orleans. They sort of rubbed off a little bit of the cultural exchange.
Yeah. I understand when I think of Chinese food, I think of fried rice, I think of breaded chicken, but it turns out really it's just a bunch of crawdad. Bunch of steamed crawdad. That's what you eat in China.
Oh yeah, you eat a lot of clam bakes. You eat a lot of what do they call them? Sand fleas, sand critters. Eating all that good stuff. Some corn. You got yourself a real good seafood boil.
Over here in Sichuan. Hush puppy is a term of endearment. I understand both in New Orleans and in Beijing.
It is, yeah, sort of a term of endearment and a street food that you'll find readily available.
Yes. I hope so.
Yeah, the reason I'm here is that I got invited here by the government and by the Buddhist Association of Chinese Tea and in China and America, mutual cooperation. They were going to hyphenate and sort of simplify that.
Yeah, is there a shortened version? What's the first letter of each one of those words spelled? Do you know?
I think it was something like FAPLA, and they were like, no, no, thank you. So, anyways, it's just everybody just says the full name because it's not really worth an acronym.
Well, I understand though they
like
on the
that,
site there's a list that says top fappers, and you are number 3. Which
I broke the top 10, and I was so happy I could be. Yeah. But yeah, they invited me here as part of a cultural mission. President Brandon reached out and asked me to be an American attaché. So I'm over here. I'm learning Chinese. I'm drinking the tea, so to speak. Sort of becoming my cup of tea, as it were.
Become what you drink. Become what you steep. Become what you boil. Yeah. Right?
Something exactly. Like yeah. So actually, under the hat, I've shaved all my hair. I'm sort of becoming a monk. The American entourage left already about a day ago, and I just told them like, no, I'm gonna stay. I have a master now. I'm an apprentice. I shaved my head. I did the incense sticks this morning. I drank my meditative tea brew, and this is it for me now. So I'll live here for now.
I'm getting my whole body is slowly being covered in thick curly hair as you are increasingly smooth skinned and hairless like a baby.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if you can see my beard is sort of falling out. I don't know.
That can't be good, Will. Are you sure? Is that something due to the environment, the tea, the water? Why is your hair falling?
I don't know. It could be a lot of things. It could be the climate. That happens. But I do think that.
Are you getting the water for your tea from maybe like a little puddle next to an industrial, factory? Little street of factories. Are you getting the water that comes out of the buildings?
It is actually an industrial plant offshoot stream, but they say it's filtered. So I have to take them at their word. But it was surprisingly easy to shave my head, given that I was practically almost bald, and now as my beard falls out, I become a smooth, hairless gnome.
Now eyebrows, though, you don't want to get rid of the eyebrows generally, because then you look like one of the doppelgangers from Us. So what's your eyebrow plan?
The eyebrow plan is simple. I brought a 12-pack of Sharpie pens, so I'll just be
the classic
filling it in, as it were. And
sure,
can't be great for your skin, but I would imagine that the social advantages of having eyebrows are quite more significant than skin poisoning.
Can't be worse than the poison that's making your beard fall out, right?
Right. I mean, if it is sort of magnesium nitrate or some god awful compound that I've been drinking, here's hoping that my hair will grow back. There's plenty of products for that. Last time I was in Armenia, I met a very good hair doctor, and he told me, my friend, if your hair ever falls out, do not go to those bastards in Greece to get your hair done. Stay here, my friend. And I was like, oh, wow, this is very specific. But, they have weird rivalries over there in Europe, and they all hate each other.
That was a topical story.
Money. Yeah, I think that made the news. I think that made Sky News. That was sort of an article on there.
Well, I hope you appreciated some of the news, because I imagine you're going to get a much more, let's say, curated selection now that you're basically Chinese.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of the news on TV has just been about Penglai, the mountain I'm staying on. There's an elephant named Hoshi, and she's about 90 years old. She's been under the weather, and since the queen died recently, they're sort of like, oof, does this reverberate, around the world? Will Yushi be okay?
Is Yushi in danger because death is afoot? So to speak.
Yeah. Death is among us, and the Grim Reaper has. I mean, if the Grim Reaper comes for the queen, then who could be next?
I mean, this. I don't know what exactly the life expectancy for an elephant is. I would imagine pretty much anything once it hits 90 might be on the doorstep of the eternal ending, right? But sure, why not? Let's blame the queen.
It could be. I mean, I'm just saying that, here in China, the royal family is not necessarily beloved or anything.
Apparently, they're really beloved in America. That's what I've learned from the internet in the last couple of days. A lot of grieving, public grieving.
We really do have a lot of weird sympathy for some random family in England, don't we? Despite being our own thing, we're definitely not English, but we still really, sorry about your queen. We really, if you want to take us back as a colony at some point, we could work that out. We're just terribly sorry to hear that she's passed.
A lot of
stop simping for Britain so much, America.
People are very much on the like, she was a great woman who really did so much for the world.
I know.
I'm no expert on the queen. My sense was that she kind of was just rich and like bred dogs.
Yeah.
Did you hear about this thing with her? What were those what's the dog that she was breeding?
The Peking. Yeah.
They were.
There's a very funny colonial historical story behind those dogs, actually.
Corgis, right? I thought she was
I think so, corgis,
and I saw that she had left a like part of her plan for dying. I don't know if it's quite in the will or what exactly it was, but she said she did not want these dogs that she's been breeding for decades to survive her death.
What? So, that's so specific and odd. I thought you were going to say something like she inherited them each like $10 million for the rest of their life, and they're just going to be eating like dog caviar until they pass as well. But I didn't know that. I didn't know she was like, nope, you're gonna whack them. I'm gonna be buried with my dogs, like a jarl in Scandinavia in the 1800s. You're gonna send my body out on a boat. You're gonna burn me and my dogs on the River Thames.
I think some poor person at the castle or whatever is gonna have to kill all these dogs now. Which
for no reason too. It sounds so nefarious. It's like, what'd you do to the dogs, Elizabeth?
I want these dogs that I like that have been probably like, look, let's be honest. What did she do with most of her day? Probably hang out with the dogs. And honestly, that's humanizing. I got no problem with that, right?
Sure.
But the fact that she's like, I love these dogs so much, I want them to die and be killed once I die. That's
pretty old.
Is this really a woman we need? Like, whatever else she's done, I really don't know all the things that she's done, but this seems pretty bad, right? Shouldn't we be mad about this?
You imagine she left a list of other things. She's like, and when I'm gone, to get all those whore women and make sure they can never have abortions ever again. It's like, Elizabeth, what is? She's like, make sure all the gay people can never wed. Make sure that all the churches are amplified. Everyone must pay church tax, which I think goes to the queen anyways. So of course they would love to, bump that up a little bit. So
yeah,
I'm just expecting the other sort of dark parts of her will to come to light, and then we hear like, not only shall ye slay the corgis upon my death, but I shall also reconquer Ireland. We're gonna reinvade it. Fuck them. It's like, ooh, Elizabeth. Liz, we might want to.
Would they do that? You think? I don't know.
I hope not. I mean, that would be bad. That would sort of be like hypocritical of them to say that Russia's doing that and then sort of do that to Ireland.
England's never been hypocritical before, so at least we know that won't be a problem.
Not once. With his Eminence Charles the Wanker on the throne.
So here what I found, which I will. When I first clicked on it, I thought it said, "We're happy to report." I think all I saw at first before I clicked was, "We're happy to report that the Queen's corgis," and I thought, "Oh, okay, maybe some good news, right?" I see the rest of the headline are not going to be euthanized just yet.
Goody.
So let's read this. So, Queen Elizabeth II was well known for her corgi affinity. She owned more than 30 over her lifetime. According to estimates, kept them in Buckingham Palace's corgi room with a gourmet chef and daily sheet changes, and gave them glorious names like Bramble and Dagger.
I mean, those aren't glorious names, but those are okay names.
Do you see these names? Let's go through
Pickles.
These. So Susan
Tinker.
Yeah. Tinker, Rufus, Brush, Socks.
Such royal, regal names such as Buzz, Honeybee, and Whiskey.
Yeah.
It's just Your Highness, this is just the phonetic alphabet.
Your Highness, can we please not name one Blackie? Is there any other name, maybe?
It's okay. It's 1968, and it hasn't really mattered yet or registered in anyone's memory. Okay, Elizabeth.
Apollo, Pundit, Mint.
She's got Whiskey, Foxtrot, Alpha, such regal names as Tango.
So at the time of her death, the Queen had
Xerox.
4 dogs, 2 Pembroke Welsh corgis, 1 corgi dachshund mix, and a cocker spaniel. Amid
Named
all the
Oscar and Lima.
amid
Might as
the
well.
tumult and decorum of the monarchy's transfer of power, people are eager to know what's to become of the Queen's fleet of gorgeous pups. When I got look, before I saw this tweet, I guess I didn't think that it was a possibility that they'd just kill them. A viral tweet from journalist Ashley Feinberg highlights a paragraph from The Independent that stated the Queen, quote, stopped breeding corgis as she does not wish any to survive her in the event of her death, thus beginning the jokes that the corgis might not actually survive much longer. So okay, yeah,
kind of a dark joke, but okay. Oh man, that's a pretty funny meme. It's sort of the meme. Yeah.
Anakin Skywalker walks in to go kill all the little child Jedis, and so the tweet says the corgis seeing their handler walk into. Yeah, I mean that sounds like, and I saw a million tweets about this. So let's
wait.
She clarifies that the Queen.
Queen just wanted to stop breeding corgis so she wouldn't, quote, leave behind any young dogs. This end quote. This sounds kind of like an Illuminati kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like this has got like a Rothschild family asked her to do this kind of vibe to it. You know what I mean? Sort of the dark side of whatever the British royal family's been doing with all their money has been going into corgi breeding experiments that I think they just want to like neutralize once the Queen is dead. So I think that's.
I'll tell you this much.
I think that's what's going on here.
This would totally be
Maybe
a field day for QAnon. It's happening in America. Be a bunch of like, oh, does not want to be leaving any pups behind. We know what that means. And
if QAnon wasn't simping over like, oh, our deepest condolences, Your Majesties, for your loss of the holiness. May she rest in eternal wisdom. It's just everybody's offering their sympathies. Okay. Even the sort of the Temple Mountain I'm staying at here, they wrote a letter in beautiful calligraphy and mailed it off via carrier pigeon. So it should arrive in England probably, I want to say about 11, maybe 13 months. So it will be late, but can you blame the damn pigeon for flying halfway across the world? I don't think so.
Well, okay, so I guess the Queen is not going to massacre her puppies, or the Queen's Guard is not going to shoot them by firing squad today.
That would be so dramatic. The guys with the really fuzzy hats, they just come out and they just start line the corgis up against a wall, and then the guys with the fuzzy hats are just firing squatting them, and it's broadcast on the BBC. It's like the last remnant of the Queen was blasted to pieces today earlier in the Buckingham Palace courtyard.
God, I don't know.
It was one of her last wishes that this happened, I guess. So
this great woman who we miss so much. Her dying.
It's funny because they did
her dog.
They did the same. Let them be slain. Okay. It's kind of funny because they did the same thing with that Prime Minister of Japan. I guess he wasn't necessarily like the greatest guy on earth either. He kind of denied a lot of terrible things that happened in World War II, I guess. He was sort of like one of those kind of guys where he's trying to like, Japan didn't really do that many bad things. And I mean, as an American, I can't really criticize. We did sort of at least 2 very bad things to Japan. So I can't really say that they shouldn't be talking about what they shouldn't be talking about. But anyways, it was just weird because I guess after the Japanese Prime Minister passed, everyone was like, what a great man he was. Yeah. He was such a genius, and he just lived for the moment, and he just had the right words, and like he knew how to run a country so goddamn well. And it's like, okay, I mean, this is very glowing speech, but like we can't just remember people in the best light all the time, you know. I mean, we can just because it's more humanizing if it's the whole picture, you know.
Yeah. Are you leading up to like then in his will it said that they need to like drop acid in his koi pond until the koi's all die?
They must get my small personal samurai sword that I use for suicide in the event of another invasion.
And walk the tightrope
every single
doing an
Yeah,
Asian
sorry.
man voice as you do all, after 20 minutes of China jokes. Come on, Will, we're gonna get canceled for this.
I'm not. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not. I'm not doing an Asian voice. It was you projecting. Probably.
It was a Russian. It was a Russian guard who just happened to work in China or in Japan.
It was a Eastern Asian Russian. It's a European. We can make fun of them.
He's a mix. All right.
Yeah, he's like you. He's half Greek. He's half Mongolian. He's half Persian. You know, it's a giant mixing pot. And I'm just saying that
he too is very hairy. I'll tell you that much.
He too, me too, everybody.
Oh boy. Well, anyway,
like you can't. Okay.
Did Abe have something with like a pet? Is that where you're going with it, or are you just talking about the like way we totally ignore the person's
sort of the
life?
way we eulogize people? You know, like I'm sure the Queen was a great lady, but you know, I'm sure she didn't do everything perfectly. So we can talk about that too. You know, it's nothing. Nothing wrong.
I told Courtney, since she's a big fan of The Crown, she can do a big report for us next time, where she explains the royal family, what exactly it means. Because like I'm seeing these headlines now where they're like the next.
We're becoming a British royal family podcast, aren't we? We should probably stop our British material.
I got no. I want Courtney to explain to me. Like, I'll be honest, I don't really understand what a Queen of England does, what that means, and people are talking about like what can the next one do, and I sort of thought it was just a figurehead. But I guess they have some kind of actual power, and I don't really get it. So I want Courtney to explain.
They have the power of the, not the power of the purse, but the power of the shoe, right? Sort of the authoritarian. They control
the power of the euthanasia medicine. We know that much.
The power of the gun. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what they have. I would assume they do some administering, but then they're just sort of figureheads. So they don't really can't really be doing that much of significant importance. So
yeah, so I want to get some insight, and Courtney's in charge of that. And then go ahead.
Well, sorry, I was just gonna say, and then too, it's sort of like, all right, her life's work, you know, the Queen reading corgis. She's like, get rid of it. Terrible. Yeah. I did a bad job. It's sort of like if Hitler was like, you know what, I did a bad thing, just burn all my paintings. Oh my God. It's sort of like you got to leave something behind.
Listen here, Jack. In the event of my death, I want you to destroy the White House.
Is this George Bush or is this Biden? Who is
honestly either, I guess. So it's an amalgam.
George W. Biden. Listen here, Buster. It's sort of like it's an old man mixed with like a Texas Southern man.
I want Texas to be just completely obliterated the second I leave this earth for the next one. For the great big Texas in the sky.
They say everything's bigger in Texas, so I say you drop one of those big fat boy nuclear bombs on Texas, just get rid of it, detach it from the U.S., and then everybody move to Montana, maybe Florida. So radiation fallout is not that far.
I want that pool where I fought that gang where Corn Pop was. I want that pool to be filled in with cement the minute I die.
Fill in that pool and then build me a giant water slide on top of it as a memorial sculpture so that Corn Pop's kids will always remember what Grandpa George W. Biden did to them.
Oh man. All right. Anyway, one quick aside, and then I want to move on from China. But did you see Fight Club finally got released in China earlier this year, and they were okay with most of the movie, but they thought the ending was a little bit too politically inflammatory. So they tacked on a title card like 20 minutes from the ending instead of the actual ending. And here's what it said. So let's see. It says
the ending of this film is not worth it. Trust me. I've seen it. You don't want to go there.
Basically, before you get to that point where they're even like they explain their plot to destroy all those buildings at the end, but rather than show them succeed or even get close to succeeding, apparently this big title card comes up that says the police rapidly figured out the whole plan and arrested all criminals, preventing the bomb from exploding. Then it ends. Then the end credits.
Oh man. So they basically were like, hey, the satisfying ending of this movie, don't even think about it. It happened the other way around. And also,
the police stopped
your time watching this movie. You wasted your time watching this movie because they failed and they suck. Yeah. So does this movie.
I love the idea that you could do that. Like the entire last hour of V for Vendetta is just the police caught V and then it ended.
Yeah, I know. I love that's genius. Just apply that to anything. You start applying that to like Marvel movies. The police arrested Batman and Thor the same night. They were thrown in jail and never heard from again. It's like, wow.
You're watching watching Homeward Bound, and the dogs running through the field, and it's like the Queen's police, the Queen's army captured dogs and dispatched of them.
You're watching a Lassie movie, and then the last 20 minutes are Lassie was put down by the British government and as part of their no dog left behind policy. You're like, wow, these are pretty brutal endings to these foreign films, let me tell you.
Oh my god, that's funny.
That's too funny. I love that though, because then it makes movies kind of like not suck as much, you know. So it's like if you bothered to watch Inception like 6 times like I did to try and understand it, then instead of the last 2 hours, maybe after 1 hour it just has a title card that says eventually all the dreams were figured out and they went back to the real world.
They wake up.
It's fine.
That's the title
They wake
card.
up and actually all of that was a dream. Surprise.
God, you know, Inception's one of those movies. Everyone's so obsessed with it, and sure, it looks cool, good acting, good music.
It's fun. It's weird.
But seriously, an hour and a half of that movie is the characters explaining what the movie is and explaining all the rules and re-explaining the rules. And like the first time you watch it, you are trying to like figure it all out, right? So the first time it is a little overwhelming and there's a lot of sort of hoops you got to jump through. I watch it now and it's like, oh my God, there's like an hour before anything happens because he just tells Ellen Page the dreams of the rules over and over and over again.
He's like, Ellen, sit down. I'm going to mansplain to you while you're still available how much this universe sucks.
The police caught them at the end. I love what was funny is you put that in a movie that wasn't really about anybody versus the police. Like that's just their title card. Like, imagine it's like When Harry Met Sally, and then they almost run to each other at the end. Then it's like the police caught them, and the building was not exploded. Then the title card. And the ending. Like, wait, what? What building was going to explode?
You're watching Indiana Jones, and it was like Indiana Jones was captured by the local authorities and thrown in an Ecuadorian jail. He never found the treasure, and the museum never stole the antiquity from the indigenous people.
This would be a good way for. I know that there's a little bit of a rivalry between some of the Chinese film industry and Hollywood. So this might be a good way for them to get some revenge because now all these Chinese viewers if they don't have access to the original movie, they don't know that that's not the stupid ending.
Exactly. Yeah. So they're kind of on board with it. So I don't know. Inception's one of those movies where you could kind of explain it to your friends for 3 hours and then watch it for 3 hours and still nobody would understand it.
Well, look, this is a
sort of black hole of time, if you will.
Ellen was, I don't know if you watched Tenant, the latest Christopher Nolan movie.
That seemed to just be somebody trying to do Inception without. Yeah. It seemed like somebody who was trying to do an homage to Inception. So that was really weird, but it was also kind of funny because it was like, wait, the same guy who directed Inception, I think, directed this movie.
Yep.
So it seems like he's trying to rip himself off.
Well, so that's why
really weird.
People come to me sometimes because I'm okay at explaining complicated movies and so on and so forth. But like they're like, all right, so Tenet, what was going on? I'm like, the problem with that movie is like really quickly you just don't care, right? Like I don't have any interest in figuring out what's going on because it's all really dumb. It's not that I couldn't figure. I bet I could figure it out if I really wanted to, but
it's just not entertaining enough to apply logic to it, and it just doesn't seem worth my time.
I only have so much brain power left in my life, right? You're gonna waste it on this movie.
You're like, you can't ask me questions like this after work. My brain is on 30% charge now, and I need to go watch some crappy HBO series and bring that charge back up to like 65 so I can use my brain for the rest of the night.
I gotta go rewatch all of 30 Rock before I can talk again.
Actually, I recently heard somebody say that they watched 30 Rock on like magic mushrooms or something. I was like, wow, that would be a real trip. Because I do remember one time in high school, I smoked a little bit of legal cannabis as I was a 21-year-old child who had, I kept failing high school. I was of age and still in high school. And it was
in California.
and it was in California,
Yeah.
of course. So as I had met all those criteria for it to be perfectly acceptable socially and legally by the law code, I turned on 30 Rock because I was like, I kind of like the show. You know, I was in a bit of a binge rut, if you will. And so as I'm binging the show, I was like, man, this show makes so much more sense if you use weed, because it's just so much funnier. You sort of understand the layers of comedy a little bit better, I guess, because it's kind of a neurotic show.
Oh yeah.
So if you're on some sort, you know, it probably doesn't just work for cannabis. You know, if you drink a drink, you know, if you have like a Mai Tai or something, and you watch a show, you probably understand it a little bit better. You know, you're kind of locked in, kind of zoned in. So that show might actually be really good on some ketamine or something someday, legally, you know, if you're in a laboratory safe space, of course.
You know, at like a grocery store, sometimes they'll have like the pre-made cocktails, so you can buy like a little bottle of Mai. I mean, it'll make like 3 Mai Tais, right, from the little bottle.
Yeah.
I love the idea that it's like a picture of Liz Lemon holding this little bottle of like whatever Mai Tai, and it's like, grab a Mai Tai and turn on 30 Rock tonight.
You see,
weirdly specific show that ended 15 years ago.
That'd be so funny. It's like, wow, now they're coming out with this. This is really weird. You see, what's his name? Alec Baldwin, recast as Jack Lemmon. You know, he's sort of drinking old fashioned. It's a damn good drink for the show. You know, and it's like, wow, this must be the only work he's getting, because I haven't seen Alec in a lot of stuff recently.
Another podcast was making fun of him for this, so I don't want to dwell on it for too long, because there's plenty of stuff out there. But Alec Baldwin was on one of these shows with, I think it was like Michael Imperioli, Christopher from The Sopranos, and maybe somebody else from The Sopranos.
Is it his podcast?
Or yeah. Alec Baldwin,
it's a Sopranos podcast.
Yeah, something like that. And so Alec Baldwin's on there, and he's explaining his experience watching The Sopranos, and he's like, hand to God, every Sunday night I'd get my Chinese food, I'd open a bottle of whatever, and I'd turn on The Sopranos. Hand to God.
Oh my gosh, that's so cringe.
Oh yeah, you watched the big show that everyone was watching on Sunday. Hand to God.
I tell you, hand to God. I watched Seinfeld so many times back when it was on TV all the time. I had to watch it. It was just it was great. I had to turn it on. It's like, well, there was nothing else to watch. It makes sense.
It's like saying, like, oh, you'll never believe this. I've been watching this new Game of Thrones show. Like, yeah. Everybody in the world's watching this show.
A lot of people watch that show, actually. Yeah.
I got my Chinese food. I turned on Game of Thrones.
Let me tell you, when I got Netflix, I watched that show Squid Games. Nobody's heard of it, and I sat there with my Vietnamese food, and I just sat there every single night for a week eating.
So he picks Chinese food to watch The Sopranos, like during The Sopranos too.
I think he's trying to sound like New York, you know, like I got some of my Chinese, and you know what I mean, sort of like that guy.
I threw a Pop-Tart in the toaster. Hand to God.
Hand to God. I had no butter for that hot, bubbly Pop-Tart, but I don't need it. At my age, I don't need it. Okay. This is funny. Alec Baldwin will talk about basically anything, but, you know, what he probably shouldn't be talking about.
What's too bad about him, I think, is he's a very good actor. He can be very funny in the right role.
Yeah.
But he seems like such a jerk in real life. It's so annoying.
I know. I recently saw the roast of Alec Baldwin, and his daughter has like a 6-minute little thing, and man, it was funny, but not for the reason that you'd think initially. You know what I mean? It was sort of like, oh wow, she is roasting him, but these are like very specific criticisms that
was this the daughter? Is this the one that he left the voicemail, and he's like, "Listen here, pig."
Yeah, he called her a pig, and his daughter was like 10 or something. It was like, oh my gosh, dude, like take what?
Yeah.
So so that poor daughter, she roasted his ass for 5-10 minutes, and at one point she said something like, you know, Dad, this has been the best interaction that we've had since the last time I saw you, which was when I was a young child with a social worker. And then people are kind of like groaning in the audience, and it's like, yeah. And then Alec Baldwin kind of like sees that this isn't going well because like he's been roasted by his daughter for like 7 minutes now, and it's like he's like, ugh, like this is probably the most accurate roast Comedy Central ever had, because man, he looked like he was on the hot seat literally, and he's sort of shifting uncomfortably, and as people are groaning in the audience, a good 4 or 5 seconds after the joke, he just goes. And it's like
big fake laugh.
It's like such a fake laugh, and it's funny because the fake laugh comes right after he kind of like scans the room and is like, "Ooh, this is groaning." Like, "Ooh, funny, not awkward, funny."
We played a little that Instagram interview we did with Woody Allen, right? Didn't we do that?
We already covered that at length.
But he kept doing that laugh because Woody, Woody's not in prime. He hasn't been in prime joke telling mode in 35 years, maybe.
Yeah, Woody's still saying stuff like, "I'm sorry, Alec. I just woke up and I've been meaning to go to Katz's Deli for a sandwich, but I didn't have time this morning for breakfast." Now it's like,
oh, Woody, that's amazing.
That's so. I love Katz's. It's great.
You make life worth living. Hand to God, Woody. You make life worth living.
Hand to God, Woody. Every time I go to the Katz's Deli, I get the pastrami. And it's like, yeah, that's the most popular sandwich, Alec. Yeah, but I get it. Hand to God. Every single time.
Sunyi has to chew my food now, and then I eat it.
Spit it in my mouth like a baby bird.
That's great, Woody. That's great.
Oh, that's funny, Woody. You're kidding, right? No, I'm not kidding at all. I'm like 90.
It would be funny, except it's kind of inconvenient and embarrassing.
That's not embarrassing. I have Hilaria chew up my food all the time. She just spits it right in my mouth. Sometimes she gets it in my nose. It's like, oh boy, this is really a fun thing to do.
Alec would do that. It would be that joke would take him 10 minutes to get to the punchline, and then Woody would have frozen 8 minutes or 2 minutes. So 8 minutes would have just been Woody, and then Alex just, "Do we lose you? Do we lose Woody?" And he starts
so clear that they lost
Woody. Don't think I saw Woody.
He just hires everybody. He just hires Spanish speakers only. He's like, "I'm trying to learn the language that my wife told me I should learn because
her native language."
She actually her native language of Bostonian Spanish.
I wonder, you think she's the first one who got this 23andMe update, went from 0% Spanish to like 90% Spanish? Is that the problem?
That could have been, you know what? Maybe it's all a case of misunderstanding, and it's not that she just pretended to be a different nationality for clout. It's perhaps instead that her 23andMe had just been updating like year to year, and she was like, "No, I swear I was 50% Basque last year, 54%, which is the majority, by the way, and now this year I'm only 12% North African and 13% Sicilian, which is kind of Spanish."
That's how it works. I'll tell you that much.
I'm Sicilian now. Who knew? And I might be even Maltese. So I don't know what my ancestors were up to, but
next year
boats
could be completely different. Could be all Brazilian next year. I don't know.
You're like, I could be next year. I can find out I'm 100% from Capri, the island of Capri. I'm a Capri son. I'm just a Capri son now. Oh, okay. Well, it's weird because you were like 40% Belarus last year, and now you're 100% Capri son. Great.
Well, so the big event tonight that I figure we need to get to the bottom of, and I don't know if you're on Twitter anymore. Did you delete your Twitter? Did you get kicked off for?
No, I didn't. I didn't get kicked off. My jokes were all fine, and in fact, Twitter actually reached out and they sent me.
Thank you.
Hey, we noticed you haven't been tweeting recently, and it's causing a lack of joy in people's lives. And I was like, don't need to be so.
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, I did one of those hearty, authentic chuckles, and I chortle, and then I replied to them, "No, sorry, I've just been busy, but I'm still kind of on Twitter, but I haven't really gone on recently just because
Dr.
I'm a TikTok man now.
Dr. Gonzo, paging Dr. Gonzo's bongos. We need you back." It's like the beginning of Star Wars over there.
Yeah,
Dr. Gonzo.
Help us, Dr. Gonzo. Help save Twitter from Elon Musk.
Yeah, exactly. But so anyway, the big thing that everyone's been obsessed with, other than talking about how amazing the Queen was, is we might call it Spitgate. Have you heard about Spitgate?
some actor spit on another actor somehow, and
so
then,
I want
but it never happened, I guess.
Well, we're gonna do, I think, a little bit of a deep dive here as we get into the meat of the show. Now that we've had a 40-minute preamble.
What's that dish? This is basically our preamble, which was lengthy, by the way, and varied. It's sort of like the dish in an Italian meal where it's like the antipasta, where it's sort of like you have a salad in Italian meals, and then you'll have a whole plate of pasta, and then they'll serve you dinner. And it's like,
exactly.
That was sort of the pasta. Now we're getting to the meat.
Yes, we're at the fourth or fifth,
the entree.
Yeah, fourth or fifth plate at this point. But it's the big one. It's the steak of the night. So, okay.
Filet mignon.
Let me try to explain a little bit about this movie, because this is sort of its own inception of like weird betrayals and drama from day one, right? So Olivia Wilde, who was an actor for a long time, she was in like Richard Jewell and a bunch of other things. She decided a few years ago, all right, I want to switch to being a filmmaker director. And so she made that movie Booksmart, which was supposed to be like super bad, but female centric. And, you know, it's fine, whatever, it's not a big deal. Then she makes this new one, which is sort of like a take on like the Stepford Wives. It's like this idyllic community of like 50s relationships where the men have all the power, and it looks like there's going to be some big twist. And she's even said it was modeled after the kind of weirdos who are really into Jordan Peterson. And the villain of the movie is played by Chris Pine, trying to be a Jordan Peterson-like cult figure. So like if Jordan Peterson started the Stepford Wives.
Okay. I'm with you so far.
Sounds fun, right? Like at first glance, I'll be like, I'm in. Yeah, sure.
I'm in, but only, here's my condition, if Chris Pine does a funny voice.
If he talks a little bit like Kermit the Frog the whole time.
Could it be like a Canadian Kermit, you know, about this register?
It's about
not
time
quite Kermit.
That wife listens. Yeah. Sometimes the wife does not vacuum the living room, and she really should.
It terrifies me that people would do that to some other people. You know, it's like we're a society. We're built on rules. And I requested that my maid show up today, and she had a darn dentist appointment, and now the world is collapsing. It's like, wow, this is really.
If you don't clean out the sink after you use it, it's an affront to God. To God.
Speaking of affronts to God, I think that if you piss in the toilet and you don't flush, you go straight to hell. Straight to hell. No redemption for you.
And he weeps for 10 minutes.
Weeps for 10 minutes. And then he says he's not Christian, but then talks about how great the Bible is for an hour.
Yeah. Anyway, so this movie sounds like it could be promising, right? You know, like, okay, interesting. So she gets Florence Pugh to be in it as well from Midsummer.
I'm sorry, Florence who?
Pugh? Is that
okay. No, just it didn't come through the first time. I was sort of like, wow, never mind. Continue.
Okay. So Florence Pugh from Midsummer, good actress.
She's great. She's great. I loved her in Midsummer.
Yeah, me too. And so she's going to star as the woman who is sort of like our world, or our view into this world of this weird cult community. And initially, opposite Florence Pugh as her husband, she casts Shiah Labeouf.
So, quick question: is Shiah Labeouf and Florence Pugh are they sort of pretending, or I guess, are they playing characters that are being initiated into this cult, or are they already in the cult as like founding members or something?
I think the husband might be more of a founding member, but the Florence Pugh character is sort of new to it, and it seems all idyllic.
I hope poor Florence doesn't get typecast as the girl who's new to the cult in the rest of her career.
Yeah,
I mean, that's been 2 of them now, so you gotta. But I mean, you know, she does a fine job. Sorry, continue.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I got a lot to get through here.
Spit it out, Spitgate it out.
I got to go faster here. So one of the first things that happens is Shiah is by all intents and purposes seems to have been fired from the movie. I think they did the usual like creative differences or scheduling conflicts or whatever. He doesn't say anything about it. And, look, Shia LaBeouf's not exactly the best source for things in general, right? For example, do you remember that movie Honey Boy that he did a few years ago where he played his own dad?
I do, yeah. That was really interesting.
When his dad was all abusive, and it was supposed to be like, here's how he turned into the monster he is now.
Right.
Did you see he just
tortured genius who's been playing capture the flag with the internet?
So Shiah, like a week or two ago, comes out and says, "Yeah, I made all that up. My dad was never abusive. That was all just completely for the movie."
So, that was because I was trying to get an Oscar.
Yeah, basically.
It's like, oh man. He's like, I never went to a therapist as a child. I'm not troubled, by the way. I'm fine. It's like, well, I don't know. Maybe you don't know about the last part.
This guy's a piece of work, and he keeps getting. The funniest thing about Shiah Labeouf is there was at least like 3 years where I swear almost every weekend, hand to God, every weekend, Shiah would he'd get in a bar fight and lose, and there'd be like a tabloid about it. Shiah gets drunk and gets beat up by some random guy in a bar.
Shiah Labeouf gets his ass beat again in mid-Manhattan bar brawl. It's like, dang, this is the fourth headline like this year.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess everyone was sort of not in a place where we immediately felt like, Shiah got fired from a big prestige movie. Probably Shiah's problem, right? That was usually the way people reacted, and me too. And so anyway, that was sort of accepted, and then Harry Styles gets cast as Shiah's replacement. And look, I don't really know
the singer.
Yeah, I literally almost asked a friend of mine the other day. So Harry Styles is one of the Jonas Brothers. So that tells you how much I know, because I guess he's One Direction.
I guess pretty much. He's like a younger member of NSYNC.
Sure. Yeah. So like, I don't know, whatever. I don't care for that much. But anyway, there's these reports then while they're filming that Olivia Wilde, the director, and Harry Styles started a fling, and apparently the fling was not like happening entirely behind the scenes or behind cameras, but in fact, Olivia Wilde reportedly was frequently not even really on set that much because she was off with Harry Styles, and so the crew and cast, like the director of photography and the cast, were sort of like, well, I guess we'll just shoot the scene since the director didn't show up today.
Oh, dang. So she wasn't really there to sort of direct the process as much as you hope from a director.
Well, well, what you'd expect from a director is to be there for every scene, like to be on set. Is like
you honestly expect the director to be like a micromanager.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You expect them to be there like overemphasizing every aspect of it, and then instead they're anyways, that's interesting approach to filmmaking.
So there's some let's say some negative feelings from the cast and crew toward Olivia Wilde and Harry Styles as a result of all of this. And so there's all these rumors of tension, and no one's totally sure. Like, I don't know how much of this is real, how much isn't. But Florence Pugh,
I was gonna say this Harry Styles guy sounds kind of like a Pete Davidson fella, where he's gonna, he's just gonna seduce every female directress for the next 7 to 8 to 12 months, depending.
So yeah, I don't know, but all I know is, you hear these headlines, you hear these tabloids, rumors. Who knows what's real, who's not? But then turns out that Florence Pugh keeps dropping out of doing press for this movie, and like is not going to be part of the big premiere photo op. And so people are sort of like, that looks weird for like a big kind of a maybe awards contender, like might be an Oscar nomination for her, and she does not want to be in the same room as the director and cast. Something maybe is up there. And so like the director says something like, oh, well, she's off filming Dune Part 2. So she's just busy. As literally
she's doing Dune.
Timothée Chalamet is like walking by in a dress as she says this, like the star of Dune 2 have found time to be here. So
the guy who carries the Dune franchise, I guess, besides Christian Bale covered in motor oil.
Yeah.
The fuck that David.
So so then something comes out where somebody asks Shiah Labeouf, like, so what was it to happen? Because Olivia Wilde keeps talking about it. She's like, look, I had to keep my cast and crew safe, and we just couldn't have Shiah there to keep everybody safe. Which is now it's getting into like, all right, we went from like standard, we just like broke ways to like, oh, did Shiah do something to somebody on the cast, right? Like it sounds like a real allegation now. And Shiah, who has not won a fight literally or verbally in a decade, throws he posts text messages from Olivia Wilde and a video where she's begging him to stay on the project, and she's saying all these condescending things about Florence Pugh, who she refers to as Miss Flo, and like, we need to teach her a lesson, and like, I need you to be on this movie, Shiah, come on, please don't drop out.
So she's trying to be like a Stanley Kubrick. She's got like, we got to break Florence Pugh / Shelley Duvall's spirit. And so
I don't know if that's it, or
we'll drive a performance out of them. But I mean, you can't really do that if you're not on set and you're sort of getting like a Starbucks like matcha frappuccino with Harry Styles. So you can't have it both ways.
I don't even know if it was that calculated so much as she just wanted Shiah to be in the movie, and Shiah, for whatever weird reason, drops out. Right? Like, I don't know. I'm not gonna go out to bat for Shiah, other than the fact that he had receipts here of literally a video of Olivia Wilde being like, "Please don't drop out of this movie." I need to keep my people safe. So Shiah wins a battle finally
for the first time. Shiah Labeouf is that sort of gladiator in the Colosseum that just got his ass kicked every single, and he finally wins a fight, and everybody starts chanting "Rudy, Rudy, Rudy."
They handed him an Oscar, right?
Yeah, they handed him an Oscar. They said, "You know what? We want you back to host next
Warren
year."
Beatty just gave him an Oscar because Warren Beatty can just do that.
He's like, you know what? This Oscar was gonna go to Nope, the film Nope, but I'm gonna give it to you, Shiah. Here you go, buddy.
Oh my God! Yeah.
So anyway, Warren's got a lot of power. Warren's a power player.
So Don't Worry, Darling's the name of the movie. It's finished. There's trailers out, and it premieres at the Venice Film Festival last week or a week and a half ago, whenever that was. And Florence Pugh shows up for like some photo ops, but does not take part in the cast and crew Q&A, and clearly does not want to be around a lot of the people. And like someone I hadn't heard much about being like in part of the drama was Chris Pine, right? Mr. Jordan Peterson himself. And then at the premiere, there's this footage of Harry Styles going up to Chris Pine, and he leans over, sits down next to him, and Chris Pine looks down at his lap, seemingly at something, and does a little face like, I want to hit you, but I'm going to be professional because I value my career, unlike some of you guys here. And then he just sort of like looks up and smiles, but like with this anger behind it. And the internet, I think, reasonably suggested, did Harry Styles just spit in Chris Pine's lap and then sit right next to him? And so I got a video here. I hope it's all easy to tell, but I want us to do basically a Warren commission. This is the Zapruder film of 2022.
Question though, what's the what sort of definition are we working with? Is this HD, or is this like Zapruder film, like 280 pixels a second? Like
it's better, but it wasn't like zoomed in, right? Because nobody really anticipated this to happen. So I don't think we have like a perfect shot of the spittle, you know, coming and landing, right? But here, let's watch this. Let's
okay, this is already such a great picture. I love this. Okay, so we have on the far left, we have Dr. Christian Pilgrim. He looks like a little pilgrim boy.
Yep.
And then we have sort of like, gosh, I want to say like maybe even Olivia Wilde's character from Tron on the second to left.
Yeah,
sort of like a cool, you know, got some bangs going on. You know, she got the sleek outfit. And we have Olivia Wilde herself wearing like a nice yellow dress. And then we have Chris Pine, sort of like a casual, I want to say, what is this, Willy Wonka meets Crate and Barrel kind of aesthetic. So it's nice. I mean, these guys are well dressed. That's what I'm saying. So if there's any spit involved, this is just an act of terrorism.
Yes.
If on these people's outfits, it's terrorism. Okay.
So here's how People Magazine was the frame.
Off-camera feuds to on-set romance to casting decisions, the conversation surrounding Olivia Wilde's upcoming film Don't Worry, Darling has taken on a life of its own. And now, spit? As the cast of the film arrived at the Venice International Film Festival for its premiere on Monday, photos and video clips began to flood the internet, with both fans and critics dissecting every move. What began as a who is standing next to whom turned into a question of whether the movie star Harry Styles spat on his co-star Chris Pine ahead of the film's script.
So this is the face I hope they show the whole footage, and I assume they will, right? Because that'd be crazy if they didn't. But Harry Styles leans over. Chris Pine looks down at his lap like this, then kind of looks up in almost like astonishment and anger, but with like hidden behind a polite smile. So that's what to watch for. And Harry Styles' mouth, if we're going to go full JFK here, is that kind of mouth you might make after letting loose a little bit of the liquid?
I mean, let's put it this way. Did Lee Harvey Oswald reload his gun after he shot the first time?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I think so. I mean, I don't really know that much about JFK, if I'm being honest. I do know that no, I don't know that much. I know the guy died, but yeah. Yeah, anyways. That would be the face that you'd make though after you would, commit such a crime.
Yeah.
It's plausible.
He's guilty. Let's convict him now.
Yeah, the court of public opinion has already done so, and we just give our full approval. Convict him. He's guilty.
Screaming. In a clip that's been circulating the internet, Styles is seen taking a seat next to Pine, who notably is sitting to the left of Wilde.
Okay, let's rewatch that.
Ooh, yeah, we gotta. This is Zapruder film because it's
I'm
so
telling you,
quick.
All right,
it's like
let me turn the
4
sound off.
seconds.
Let's watch this again.
Okay, yeah, we gotta.
All right, you ready?
Can we slow?
Okay.
Can you slow the speed of the video? I think in the.
I don't think I have that. Can you in settings?
Playback speed.
Playback speed. You're
normal. Right. Make it slow as fuck. Make it 0.25. Yeah, there we go.
That's what I just did.
All right. Now we can Zapruder film the shit out of it.
So Chris Pine sitting there, watching Harry Styles coming in the frame. All right.
Chris Pine sitting there with his bow tie and his capri pants.
Yep. And
is that what those are called?
I don't know. Sure.
He looks comfortable. I'm he's sort of dressed for Italy, so
somebody said he dressed like, oh, it was nice of him to go as Florence Pugh to this premiere.
I mean, the hair does look very Florence Pugh-y, Pugh-ish, Pugh-like.
She doesn't look Pugh-ish. Anyway, all right. Okay. Everyone's clapping. He looks happy, right? He's like as happy as he can.
Yeah, he's kind of looking around. So Chris Pine is applauding. I guess they're probably applauding some sort of
the movie. I think the movie just ended, maybe, or like everyone's arriving before the movie starts, something like that.
Okay, so they're not applauding the entrance of Harry Styles off to the right.
Not exclusively. I think maybe everybody might be coming because like I can see he's got there's a little like placeholder
thing on the
so maybe they're all sitting and then going to talk for a second and then the movie begins. Anyway, okay. All right, you ready? This is the big part here.
Right.
Okay. So takes a step forward. Chris Pine isn't even looking at him.
Mm-hmm.
Moves a little closer. His head is definitely pretty far over.
So his head is kind of in place to have done a loogie if he needed to or wanted to. And he has sort of a clenched jaw, if I'm going to be speculative here. Yeah. So we got some potential loogie motion in action. And
Chris Pine has no idea. He has no idea.
No, he's an unsuspecting victim. He's just sort of sitting there like, what is Final Destination movies? Like one of those guys just has no idea anything is about to happen.
Right,
like
the initially to fall off that truck and kill everybody.
There's no way that could happen, right?
All right. So look at his mouth. That looked like potentially he's either mid spit or right about to let loose the dam.
Yeah. Open the floodgates.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah.
Oh.
Looks like a teeny bit of dribble.
All right. His mouth seems to open and close over Chris Pine. You tell me what you see.
That's such a weird thing to do to somebody.
You see that?
It kind of does look like he just spit a little bit, if I'm going to be honest. I mean, I'm not trying to inflame the divide here.
All right.
I don't want to take sides in this.
I think his mouth opens and closes in a spit-like manner. Okay.
And now, the thing is, you can't really, there's no clear definition of the spit, which is unfortunate because I think if the background had been darker, you'd be able to see something coming out of his mouth, right? Because the background would be darker, but he sort of lets it open as there's people behind, and there are people with blonde hair, people wearing white and black and all sorts of colors and stuff. So as he sort of opens his mouth, he's got cover, he's got the camouflage, so this is really a real Zapruder film here. This
all right, but then next piece of evidence is
critical.
If we're saying there's no spit, how do you explain what Chris Pine does next? Look down directly.
Yeah, it's almost as if he's responding to an action.
He stops clapping, makes this face. How would you describe that smile that he's about to hear? Let's watch it again.
Okay, so Chris Pine, unsuspecting, clapping, looking straight down immediately on his lap. Stop clapping. Stops clapping.
It's like a mixture of like a smile and like a I'm furious, but I know I can't punch you right now. That's what I get out of it.
I kind of get a sort of like a sense of, okay, so he's all right. Pause it one more time. So now he sort of seems to be smiling as if to say like, man, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like as
you
if
really
to say like, are you serious? Like you just did that? Like, are you 4?
Yeah, exactly. All right.
I suppose if you're in a boy band, you pretty much are a 4-year-old. You're sort of developmentally retarded for your whole life. Your arrested development.
All right, there we go. So Harry Styles sits down, doesn't look at him. Olivia Wilde seems to either have seen it and not want to react or doesn't know. Chris Pine continues.
He's just like, in disbelief now.
God,
now Chris Pine is chuckling to himself. He's grabbed his sunglasses, stopped clapping as people continue to clap.
Something
so it looks like he's about to leave, maybe. Olivia Wilde stops clapping as well, sort of looks over awkwardly, and then Harry Styles gets up?
No, they're replaying it now here. So that's look. If Harry Styles didn't spit on Chris or on Chris Pine right there, he did something. Something just happened. Yeah. If he didn't spit, he said something that had the effect that's about the equivalent of spitting right in Chris Pine's lap.
Yeah. Like he did something that warranted a reaction that was kind of dramatic, and seemed like Chris Pine was in disbelief, almost like, are you seriously doing that? Like in this outfit?
Is acknowledging that the singer has just spit. Pine then shakes his head slightly and appears to giggle before reaching down and grabbing his sunglasses that are placed between his legs. As the clip circulated, the internet debated just exactly what occurred. One Twitter user posted a GIF made from the clip with the message, "He 100% spit on Chris Pine." However, some
as you can see, can you pause really quick? Sorry. As you can see, Twitter agrees with us, and so that means therefore we are right. And, I think that's the takeaway here, is that he's guilty and we agree and crucify him. Cancel him.
Explanations as to what had happened. One Twitter user speculated that Styles didn't spit on Pine and that Pine was just wondering where his sunglasses were, so he stopped clapping. The viral moment.
Okay, but if you see, he's holding his sunglasses, drops them, starts clapping for 2 seconds, then gets spit on, then grabs them again. He forgot where he put them 2 seconds ago? I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't think Olivia Wilde would have looked over so awkwardly if he had just forgotten where his sunglasses were. And he's like, oh, man, I forgot where these were. I just don't feel like, I feel like maybe you might chuckle at that. That'd be socially acceptable. You could do an Alec Baldwin laugh, but you don't necessarily sort of stop clapping as well and sort of look over as if to say like, yikes, or perhaps like, does anyone else see that? Holy shit.
If there was no drama around this movie at all, maybe I would be more willing to think, I don't know, like maybe something, he said something weird. I don't know. Maybe it was the sunglasses. The fact that we've got like these layers upon layers of drama and weird shenanigans and lies, and the lead actor won't even show up to half of these things. I'm going to go ahead and say, if there's a movie where Harry Styles would spit on his co-star, it's probably this one.
Yeah. Well, let's just say this. I mean, experts and critics will be studying this for probably the next 20 years, and then eventually they'll teach this in American schools to children. Just like the Zapruder film, just like JFK. The show go down.
Isn't it great that we all watch a president's head explode when we're 10?
I know. They're like, that was important. That was important for you to see. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't understand when you say he got shot in the head until I saw his head break in half. Yeah, now I get it.
And they're like, yeah, it's because he used an old crappy rifle. And so that was even more torturous. And you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, my 10-year-old brain is registering more torture and just thinking like, yeah, this is interesting. Because I think they're teaching us what not to do here, right? Or something. I don't know. This is America.
You know what they did know is they taught us to obsessively watch videos over and over again at different speeds and speculate. And there's no end to speculation, no matter what the studies, no matter what the investigations show, you can always find more. The truth is out.
We don't have a fine education system here in this country, but we do have some very critical minds. And I'll tell you another thing: Americans are natural born commentators. They'll just talk forever, and you'll never get one to shut up about how their kidney's doing or what their granddaughter's up to. And you just, in terms of world population, Americans can talk a mile a minute. So yeah, you definitely got to hand it to our education system. Watching the Zapruder films gives us stuff to talk about.
So Zapruder was the guy who shot that footage. Is that right? Is that what we call it, the Zapruder film?
Yeah, I think he was just, he had
Johann Zapruder.
What? Yeah,
I'm making up Johann. I don't know what his first name is.
Johann. Yeah, no, I think it was. Yeah, I was about to say Jimmy, actually. Jimmy Zapruder. It'd be funny if it was sort of like weird, like. Never mind. Yeah, so Jimmy Zapruder.
Going to another racist rant, I can tell.
No, I'm not. It wouldn't have been racist. It would have just been like, what if he had a really unfortunate first name, and then he had like Zapruder, and they're like, we're not saying his whole name for the film. It's like. We're happy that Adolf Zapruder shot the footage, but we're not happy that he has that name. So we're calling it the Zapruder footage instead of the alternative.
His name's like a James Bond woman's name, It's like one of those just like total sexual puns. Like, oh boy. Yeah, that's not a good one.
Yeah, gosh. He's naming them these James Bond stripper names. It's not good. It's very bad. Actually, those Sean Connery Bond movies are not that great, by the way. I've seen a couple of them, and they're horribly misogynistic. And
that's like the appeal.
Terribly,
like people go back
that's so weird.
It's weird that he's so sexist, and when those movies came out, they were like, "It's cool that he's so sexist."
Wow, I know it's so like what a relic of like a different time. You know what I mean? It's like in a good way, in the best possible way. So it's sort of like as a society, we've progressed now to just sort of think that like, geez, who would even watch this, and then like think it's actually funny. It's like really sad. But those movies are terrible. They're just so. Like, I don't know. They are, again, a product of an era, but like the special effects back then were not that impressive. And, Sean Connery did not know any sort of karate or kung fu or anything. So I think he was lacking some skills.
Roger Moore is the really old one, right? Where like, yes, I'm going to judo chop you now. Like he's so old, he can barely. He's like it's like Robert De Niro in The Irishman.
It's like if Michael Caine was cast as James Bond.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna karate chop your head off, sir.
Well, it's like all the hits have just no force at all because this old guy just can't move his arms that fast, alone like with any kind of trajectory, any kind of momentum that's gonna actually hit with a shock. I don't know. And look, I'll give this to the James Bond series. It led to Austin Powers, and those are pretty funny.
Those are quite funny. Austin Powers is funny. I say that $1 million joke probably 3 times a week still to this day. And it's still funny because I have a very broken and sad mind. I think it's still funny to me, perhaps because I am also in an arrested development, much like Harry Styles.
Well, I think that ties us all up as we sort of start to wrap up the show here. So, are there any last thoughts for our viewers? As last week, I believe you told a nice fairy tale about how the Queen will never die, and
I think we even said a prayer. So I don't know if God was listening.
I think we might have cursed her.
We put a gypsy curse on the Queen on the last show. Somehow,
just through another one. You got a new one? A prayer for anyone else?
A prayer. Oh man,
our closing prayer tonight. We're going to turn to
Our closing prayer is, Lord bless Harvey Weinstein. May he rest comfortably tonight. May God bless him in his infinity. And no, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, if he passes peacefully,
there's no right answer. This setup, there's literally no good way.
You put me on the hot seat, much like Alec Baldwin earlier. I'll do another callback. Much like Alec Baldwin earlier.
Hand to God.
Hand to God. I don't have anything, Woody.
I don't have any food. Tonight.
We should. We at one point have to do like a straight Alec Baldwin, like Woody Allen podcast.
I'd love to. That'd be so fun.
We should just do that, and then maybe we'll have Michael Caine call in occasionally. even though Michael Caine hates both of them, they're just like,
Woody, what if I chew your food for you and spit it into your mouth? Would you be willing to give me the honor of spitting food into your mouth?
Woody, Woody, how about this? I'll do you one better, Woody. How about we get one of those giant boba straws, for the boba tea with the little tapioca pearls, the boba pearls, and I'll just chew up your food and I'll just spit it through the boba straw straight into your mouth, Woody. That way it's clean, sterile. It's just coming from the mouth to mouth.
Okay, so next week or next time we do
disgusting.
Courtney's going to explain the royal family to us, and then maybe the one after that we can do a big Woody meets Alec for lunch. And they have to solve some problems.
And then we got to have them both get canceled.
Yeah.
Just because
they haven't been canceled yet.
No, they haven't. I don't think they have enough cancellation. We need to sort of put the nail in the coffin of the vampire and sort of seal the curse.
All right. Well, on that note, this has been the Big Schmooze, everybody. Click subscribe, like, share. We gotta do a better job getting these things out there, everybody. Come on, it's on you.
Do, yeah. You guys gotta help us out. We appreciate if you smash the like button and the like. And the like.
Hand to God.
Like
hand to God, I went home. I ordered Chinese food and I turned on the Big Schmooze. Hand to God. Hand to God, I watched the Big Schmooze. I ate my Szechuan chicken.
It's just such a weird thing to swear to God on. It's like, I swear to God, I listen to every episode of the Big Schmooze podcast. It's like, okay, Alec, I believe you. You don't have to be so adamant,
Hand to God, I went to the bathroom in the middle of the episode. Hand to God, I don't think I missed anything important, but I will watch it again just in case. Hand to God.
Hand to God, I pray the Big Schmooze is not offensive because we ultimately just make fun of Europeans mostly, or we try to. So as long as they have a colonialist past, it's okay to make fun of a country and its people. I just try to keep it light. And I'm not saying China has that, but hand to God, I will try to be in Florida for the next episode.
All right. Well, on that note, have a great night, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Subscribe.